speakers are invited to exit the hall through room JA200, located behind the podium, before returning to their seats. May I take it that the Assembly agrees to proceed in this manner? It's so decided. Finally, I should like to draw the attention of member states that during the general debate, official photographers are in the room.
Seeing you, Vivian.
And will take official photographs of all speakers by the Department of Global Communications. Members interested in obtaining these photographs are requested to contact the photo library of the United Nations. By this, the Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, President of the Federative Republic of Brazil. I request the protocol to escort His Excellency and invite him to address the Assembly.
Trump's not speaking yet, so I'm going to go over a few things. Good seeing everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Is this today? Good seeing you, Kathy. Kathy was in California, and she said that they had earthquakes. The ground was rocking. She can say a little bit more about it. She said it said 4.6, I think Kathy sent me. But she said it. Good seeing you, Vivian. Good seeing everybody. She said that it felt bigger than a 4.6. So there was earthquakes yesterday in California. So we'll see what happens. I talked about this last night. I'm going to go over a few things. This hurricane, as I talked about last night, it turned into a 4.0. It turned into a 4.0, and it's north.
To say, if you were with us last week on Fox Weather, this thing was barely hanging around. It was a naked swirl, didn't have any thunderstorms near its core, struggled into the weekend, and eventually became a hurricane yesterday evening. But at 11 o'clock last night, you'll see that in just a moment, this was still a baseline Cat 1 storm, and now it's a 4, 18 hours later.
So this one right here, for your information, it's going to hit the United Kingdom. It's going to hit United Kingdom. But as you can see right here, it's north, and it's a 4.0. These right here, these could come together and be a super hurricane. It's going to go in the warmer water down here, and this is just this morning. This was just this morning, and this shows how close it is. As most people have been watching my channel, I've been talking about this for months. For a month.
Patients in this video. Very important update for us as we're tracking these two strong tropical waves that are gradually going to develop. The immediate threat is the flooding for us in the northeastern Caribbean. I want to zoom down to the flood risk, and then as we slide down the road, this area right here could develop as it approaches the Bahamas in the southeast U.S. So I want to take you on time, show you the American model and the European model and what I expect for development. Plus, we have Gabrielle, Narda out here. We'll track both of those in this video, and I want to show you the winds within this, plus the high ocean heat content. That is very critical for watching developing systems. So we're watching both of these areas right here. Let me zoom down a little bit closer.
Good seeing you, Nia.
Here we are in Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, British and U.S. Virgin Islands, anywhere from Anguilla south, right through about Dominica, Martinique.
Good seeing you, Ed.
Rains. Now you see these deeper colors, some of the blacks.
Good seeing everybody.
Some of the whites. That is telling me we have really tall cloud tops. If we have really tall clouds, that can hold more tropical moisture, and that will lead to flooding. Again, this is not a named system at this point. We do not need a named system to give us that flood potential, and that is exactly what.
As I said, this right here, the water is very warm. I believe it's going to hit right through here, but as I said, this is the weekend. This is the weekend. It's going to hit by the weekend. So, as I talked about in my other videos, this is right here. Desert winds, and we're in Trump, the treacherous dealer. So we have the hurricane, whirlwinds, hurricane, and we have the treacherous dealer. So this is where we're at right now, very close.
Ela perde quando fecha suas portas e culpa migrantes pelas mazelas do mundo. A pobreza é tão inimiga da democracia quanto o extremismo. Por isso, foi com orgulho que recebemos da FAO a confirmação de que o Brasil voltou.
Trump should be talking next, I believe.
Este ano de 2020. Mas no mundo ainda há 600
Good seeing everybody.
milhões de pessoas e cerca de 2 bilhões e 300 milhões enfrentam insegurança alimentar. A única guerra que todos podem sair vencedores é que travamos contra a fome e a pobreza. Esse é o objetivo da Aliança Global que lançamos no G20, que já conta com apoio de 103 países. A comunidade internacional precisa rever suas prioridades, reduzir os gastos com guerra e aumentar a ajuda ao desenvolvimento, aliviar os serviços da dívida externa dos países mais pobres, sobretudo os africanos, definir padrões mínimos de tributação global para que os super-ricos paguem mais impostos. A democracia também se mede pela capacidade de proteger as famílias e a infância. As plataformas digitais trazem possibilidade de nos aproximar como jamais havíamos imaginado, mas têm sido usadas para semear intolerância, misoginia, xenofobia e desinformação. A internet não pode ser terra sem lei. Cabe ao poder público proteger os mais vulneráveis. Regular não é restringir a liberdade de expressão, é garantir que o que já é ilegal no mundo real seja tratado assim também no ambiente digital. Ataques à regulação serve para impor interesses difusos e dar guarida a crimes como fraude, tráfico de pessoas, pedofilia e injustiças contra a democracia. O Parlamento brasileiro, corretamente, apressou sem abordar isso. Com orgulho, promulguei na última semana uma das leis mais avançadas do mundo para proteger.
Good seeing everybody. He's not talking next. I'm going to go over a few things. This was part of my video. The United Nations. The United Nations in the cube. The United Nations in the cube. Good seeing you, Ashley.
Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys doing all right. Pedro here in New York, and as I've been here a lot of times, I didn't know what to do this time, and I remember on that video about the hidden places here in New York, at the end of the video it started raining and thunderstorms, and I couldn't go to the last place. It's called the meditation room in the United Nations headquarters. So we passed through security and we got into United Nations building. We are just outside of it and we're gonna get in now. They didn't keep my camera down. Let's go in. Through the simplicity of this place, people with many faiths can meet here. The light spot hits the surface of the rock as a symbol of how the light of the sky gives life to earth in which we stand. The stone in the middle of the room, you may see it as an altar, empty not because there is no God, but because it's an altar to an unknown God, who man worships in many names and different forms. The block of iron ore weighs about 6.5 tons, and it's a reminder of the endurance and faith.
So this cube is in the United Nations. It's in a prayer room in the United Nations.
We are all within the black cube matrix. You're probably wondering, what are these black cubes? What do they symbolize? Why are they in every major city around the world? I'm here to tell you that this black cube represents the cube of Saturn, the very cube found on the North Pole of Saturn. The truth is far stranger than you might believe. In the occult realm, Saturn is known as Father Time, and its symbology is evident everywhere you look. The planets aren't what you believe they are. They're not what you've been told. Behind these 7 energies that we call planets, there lies a far deeper meaning. The elites in power seem to worship Saturn, given that their symbols are...
As you see, it's also in Mecca, the cube. That's in the United Nations. That's the only reason why I'm showing this, is because it's in the United Nations. It's in the United Nations, Trump Tower, the cube. Also, too, as I said, this is Mecca also. Also, the reason why I'm showing you this is because they also had this at his funeral. They also had this at his funeral.
There's a very distinct H there, right? Hallelujah, not right. It's another name for Lucifer. There's a very distinct H there, right? Hallelujah, not alleluia. You know what Hallel is, right? It's another name for Lucifer. The word was originally Alleluia, you know, like you see here in old Bibles and the King James Bible. But I mean, why would they be singing about Lucifer at a big Christian event? It's not what you think it is. It's a giant Luciferian ritual. And I couldn't help but notice something even...
He shows as you can see, there's the cube, as I showed the cube, but he shows something else in here, which, yes, I saw it also. A lot of people also showed it, but that is a cube.
In the seats. Do you see it? How about now? Do you see the 2 very obvious
right there,
sixes?
right there,
Funny
right
how
there.
6s are related to the mark of the beast and Lucifer, aka Satan. Do you
can see it right there. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3 right there. So I just wanted to show that. The cube also, he did a good job. Like I said, this goes with the United Nations. See what's going on.
Para a proteção do governo, caminharemos de olhos vendados para o verdadeiro amigo. O Brasil se comprometeu a reduzir entre 59 e 77% suas emissões, abrangendo todos os gases de efeito estufa em todos os desenvolvimentos.
Trump's channel might be able to tell me when he's going to be on.
Standard of living reached at the expense of 200 years of greenhouse gas emissions, demanding greater ambition and greater access to resources and technology. It's not a matter of charity, but of justice. The race for critical minerals essential for energy transition cannot reproduce the predatory and asymmetrical logic that has characterized recent centuries in Berlin City, the world will learn about the reality of the Amazon. Brazil has already reduced deforestation by half in the region in the last 2 years. Eradicating it requires ensuring decent living conditions for its millions of inhabitants. Promoting sustainable development is
Well, it said 10 or it said 950
facility, which Brazil intends to launch to compensate countries that keep their forests standing. But the time has come to move from the negotiation phase to the implementation stage. The world owes a lot to the regime created by the Climate Convention. Climate change needs to be brought to the heart of the UN so that it gets the attention it deserves. A council.
So we'll get back to see what's going on in a minute. This is Netanyahu. This was 17 hours ago. Netanyahu's 3 options to block the 2-state solution. As I said before, Trump could block it. As I said before, Kelly, good seeing you. Good seeing everybody. So we'll see what happens. As I showed, the water is real warm here.
Now it is very active. One of the reasons why was I was seeing systems getting a little bit closer to this, closer to home, where the water temperatures are so very warm. We know that in the Gulf, Caribbean, through the Bahamas, rather untouched. Water temperatures mid to upper 80s Fahrenheit, 30, 31 degrees Celsius. But here's the key. Not only are they very warm across the board, but these areas of high ocean heat content. This is one of the biggest ingredients in the hurricane season. If anything passes over some of these red areas, it could really intensify quickly, and you can see where we are in the northeastern Caribbean. We have some of the yellows and some of the oranges and reds in here. That's why I'm watching for any signs of quicker development than what the models are picking up on. What the heck is this, though? It's not only ocean heat content, it's not only warm water at the surface. The high ocean heat content means that warm water goes way down below. So if you get a system kind of moving on top of that, it just churns up more warm water and acts like fuel for these things. And we've seen that the last few years where things kind of rapidly intensify. It's because of this, the high ocean heat content. So know that I'm watching what's going on at the surface and what's going on above our heads. Now, here's a breakdown of the European model and the variations of the European model. So here we are in the Caribbean. Here's high pressure. It's sitting over here a little bit closer to the Azores. That acts like a blocker here.
Yeah, lightning's here also for me. Nastasia, lightning, I just heard it.
We get these fronts near the U.S. The timing and strength of these fronts is key for what happens down the road. Let's go out in time here. This is by Friday. By Friday, the European model is saying, hey, there's some sort of...
So these would be here by Friday. As I said, the they would be here by Friday. So here you go, right here. We'll see what happens.
System could be named, maybe not, right in this area. And then another area here, this second area is a little bit more likely to curve, a bit more like Gabrielle, at least initially. Know that I'm watching both of these areas carefully for us in the Caribbean, and then points moving forward. Then as we go into the weekend, and this gives you an idea of the uncertainty I mentioned. Because the area hasn't developed yet, it makes the eventual track more...
It would be Huberto, as I talked about before. He did say it somewhere in here that it would be a Huberto, which, as I said, I was talking about that being Huberto.
A lot. Antigua and Barbuda, a good example. Some of this rain could be right on top of us, or maybe it's just toward the south and east. But you see these brighter colors, the whites, the black showing up. That's 100 to 150 millimeters of rain, or 4 to...
according to the general.
Waiting for Trump. Waiting for Trump. Should be next.
The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Donald Trump, President of the United States.
Here it goes.
America.
Let's see what he says.
I request protocol to escort His Excellency and invite him to address the Assembly.
His Excellency is going to address him. Here he is. Let's see what he has to say. His Excellency.
Thank you very much. Very much appreciated. And I don't mind making this speech without a teleprompter because the teleprompter is not working. I feel very happy to be up here with you nevertheless. And that way you speak more from the heart. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble.
There's thunder in the background here.
Hello, Madam First Lady. Thank you very much for being here. Madam President, Mr. Secretary General, First Lady of the United States, distinguished delegates, ambassadors, and world leaders. 6 years have passed since I last stood in this grand hall and addressed a world that was prosperous and at peace in my first term. Since that day, the guns of war have shattered the peace I forged on 2 continents. An era of calm and stability gave way to one of the great crises of our time. And here in the United States, 4 years of weakness, lawlessness, and radicalism under the last administration delivered our nation into a repeated set of disasters. 1 year ago, our country was in deep trouble, but today, just 8 months into my administration, we're the hottest country anywhere in the world, and there is no other country even close. America is blessed with the strongest economy, the strongest borders, the strongest military, the strongest friendships, and the strongest spirit of any nation on the face of the earth. This is indeed the golden age of America. We are rapidly reversing the economic calamity we inherited from the previous administration, including ruinous price increases and record-setting inflation like we've never had before. Under my leadership, energy costs are down, gasoline prices are down, grocery prices are down, mortgage rates are down, and inflation has been defeated. The only thing that's up is the stock market, which just hit a record high. In fact, it hit a record high 48 times in the last short period of time. Growth is surging, manufacturing is booming. The stock market, as I said, is doing better than it's ever done. And all of you in this room benefit by that, almost everybody. And importantly, workers' wages are rising at the fastest pace in more than 60 years. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? In 4 years of President Biden, we had less than $1 trillion of new investment into the United States. In just 8 months since I took office, We have secured commitments and money already paid for $17 trillion. Think of it, 4 years, less than $1 trillion, 8 months, much more than $17 trillion is being invested in the United States, and it's now pouring in from all parts of the world. We've implemented the largest tax cuts in American history and the largest regulation cuts in American history, making this once and again the best country on earth to do business. And many of the people in this room are investing in America, and it's turned out to be an awfully good investment during this 8-month period. In my first term, I built the greatest economy in the history of the world. We had the best economy ever, history of the world. And I'm doing the same thing again, but this time it's actually much bigger and even better. The numbers far surpass my record-setting first term. On our southern border, we have successfully repelled a colossal invasion. And for the last 4 months, and that's 4 months in a row, the number of illegal aliens admitted and entering our country has been 0. Hard to believe, because if you look back just a year ago, it was millions and millions of people pouring in from all over the world, from prisons, from mental institutions, drug dealers, all over the world they came. They just poured into our country with the ridiculous open border policy of the Biden administration. Our message is very simple. If you come illegally into
Yeah, rain. It's going to rain pretty good here.
you're going to jail, or you're going back to where you came from, or perhaps even further than that. You know what that means. I want to thank the country of El Salvador for the successful and professional job they've done in receiving and jailing so many criminals that entered our country. And it was under the previous administration that the number became record-setting, and they're all being taken out. We have no choice. And other countries have no choice, because other countries are in the exact same situation with immigration. It's destroying your country, and you have to do something about it. On the world stage, America is respected again like it has never been respected before. You think about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or 1 year ago, we were a laughingstock all over the world. At the NATO summit in June, virtually all NATO members formally committed to increase defense spending at my request from 2% to 5% of GDP, making our alliance far stronger and more powerful than it was ever before. In May, I traveled to the Middle East to visit my friends and rebuild our partnerships in the Gulf and those valued relationships with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE, and other countries are now, I believe, closer than ever before. My administration has negotiated one historic trade deal after another, including with the United Kingdom, the European Union, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines, Malaysia.
Seeing you, MLL. Good seeing everybody. DJ.
Likewise, in a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable. You're never going to get them solved. Some were going for 31 years, 2 of them, 31, think of it, 31 years. One was 36 years. One was 28 years. I ended 7 wars. And in all cases, they were raging with countless thousands of people being killed. This includes Cambodia and Thailand, Kosovo and Serbia, the Congo and Rwanda, a vicious, violent war that was, Pakistan and India, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, and Armenia and Azerbaijan. It included all of them. No president or prime minister, and for that matter, no other country has ever done anything close to that. And I did it in just 7 months. It never happened before. There's never been anything like that. Very honored to have done it. It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations: a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much. And by the way, it's working now. It just went off. Thank you. I think I should just do it the other way. It's easier. Thank you very much. I didn't think of it at the time because I was too busy working to save millions of lives. That is the saving and stopping of these wars. But later I realized that the United Nations wasn't there for us. They weren't there. Thought of it really after the fact, not during these negotiations, which were not easy. That being the case, what is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential. But it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. The only thing that solves war and wars is action. Now, after ending all of these wars and also earlier negotiating the Abraham Accords, which is a very big thing for which our country received no credit, never receives credit. Everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements. But for me, the real prize will be the sons and daughters who live to grow up with their mothers and fathers, because millions of people are no longer being killed in endless and unglorious wars. What I care about is not winning prizes, it's saving lives. We saved millions and millions of lives with the 7 wars. And we have others that we're working on, and you know that. Many years ago, a very successful real estate developer in New York, known as Donald J. Trump, I bid on the renovation and rebuilding of this very United Nations complex. I remember it so well. I said at the time that I would do it for $500 million, rebuilding everything. It'd be beautiful. I used to talk about, I'm going to give you marble floors. They're going to give you terrazzo. I'm going to give you the best of everything. You're going to have mahogany walls. They're going to give you plastic. But they decided to go in another direction, which was much more expensive at the time, and which actually produced a far inferior product. And I realized that they did not know what they were doing when it came to construction, and that their building concepts were so wrong, and the product that they were proposing to build was so bad and so costly.
Exactly.
It was going to
Exactly, everybody.
And I said, and wait till
Everybody can see it.
Well, I turned out to be right. They had massive cost overruns.
Even you can see it.
Between $2 and $4 billion on the building, and did not even get the marble floors that I promised them. You walk on terrazzo. Do you notice that? As far as I'm concerned, frankly, looking at the building and getting stuck on the escalator, they still haven't finished the job. They still haven't finished. That was years ago. The project was so corrupt that Congress actually asked me to testify before them on the tremendous waste of money, because it turned out that they had no idea what it was, but they knew it was anywhere between $2 and $4 billion as opposed to $500 million with a guarantee. They had no idea, and I said it cost much more than $5 billion. Unfortunately, many things in the United Nations are happening just like that, but on an even much bigger scale, much, much bigger. Very sad to see whether the UN can manage to play a productive role. I've come here today to offer the hand of American leadership and friendship to any nation in this assembly that is willing to join us in forging a safer, more prosperous world, and is a world that we'll be much happier with. A dramatically better future is within our reach. But to get there, we must reject the failed approaches of the past and work together to confront some of the greatest threats in history. There is no more serious danger to our planet today than the most powerful and destructive weapons ever devised by man, of which the United States, as you know, has many. Just as I did in my first term, I've made containing these threats a top priority, starting with the nation of Iran. My position is very simple. The world's #1 sponsor of terror can never be allowed to possess the most dangerous weapon. That's why shortly after taking office, I sent the so-called Supreme Leader a letter making a generous offer. I extended a pledge of full cooperation in exchange for the suspension of Iran's nuclear program. The regime's answer was to continue their constant threats to their neighbors and U.S. interests throughout the region and some great countries that are right nearby. Today, many of Iran's former military commanders, in fact, I can say almost all of them, are no longer with us. They're dead. And 3 months ago, in Operation Midnight Hammer, 7 American B-2 bombers dropped the 14 30,000-pound each bombs on Iran's key nuclear facilities, totally obliterating everything. No other country on earth could have done what we did. No other country has the equipment to do what we did. We have the greatest weapons on earth. We hate to use them.
Midnight Hammer.
We did something that for 22 years people wanted to do. With Iran's nuclear.
That's great, John. I agree with you, John. Everybody.
An end to the 12
I agree with you.
As it's called, between Israel and Iran, with both sides agreeing to fight.
Thanks to my mods. You do a great job. Greatly appreciated.
As everyone knows, I have also been deeply engaged in seeking a ceasefire in Gaza. Have to get that done. Have to get it done. Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these
exactly.
Atrocities.
I'm going to be quiet.
Including October 7th, even while they refuse to release the hostages or accept a ceasefire. Instead of giving to Hamas and giving so much, because they've taken so much, they have taken so much. This could have been solved so long ago. But instead of giving in to Hamas's ransom demands, those who want peace should be united with one message: release the hostages now. Just release the hostages now. Thank you. As we have got to come together, and we will come together to get it done, we have to stop the war in Gaza immediately. We have to stop it. We have to get it done. We have to negotiate. Immediately have to negotiate peace. We got to get the hostages back. We want all 20 back. We don't want 2, 4. As you know, I got, along with Steve Witkoff and others that helped us, Marco Rubio, we got most of them back. We were involved in all of them. But I always said the last 20 are going to be the hardest, and that's exactly what happened. We have to get them back now. We don't want to get back 2, and then another 2, and then 1, and then 3. Have this process. No, we want them all back, and we want the actually 38 dead bodies back too. Those parents came to me and they want them back, and they want them back very quickly and very badly, as though they were alive. They want them. They want them every bit as much as if their son or daughter were alive. I've also been working relentlessly, stopping the killing in Ukraine. I thought that would be, of the 7 wars that I stopped, I thought that would be the easiest because of my relationship with President Putin, which had always been a good one. I thought that was going to be the easiest one. But you know, in war, you never know what's going to happen. There are always lots of surprises, both good and bad. Everyone thought Russia would win this war in 3 days, but it didn't work out that way. It was supposed to be just a quick little skirmish. It's not making Russia look good. It's making them look bad. No matter what happens from here on out, this was something that should have taken a matter of days, certainly less than a week. And they've been fighting for 3.5 years, and killing anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000 young soldiers, mostly soldiers, on both sides, every single week, from 5,000 to 7,000 dead young people, and some in cities, much smaller numbers, where rockets are shot, where drones are dropped. This war would never have started if I were president. This was a war that should have never happened. It shows you what leadership is, what bad leadership can do to a country. Look what happened to the United States, and look where we are right now in just a short period of time. The only question now is how many more lives will be needlessly lost on both sides. China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing war by continuing to purchase Russian oil. But inexcusably, even NATO countries have not cut off much Russian energy and Russian energy products, which, as you know, I found out about 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't happy. Think of it. They're funding the war against themselves. Who the hell ever heard of that one? In the event that Russia is not ready to make a deal to end the war, then the United States is fully prepared to impose a very strong round of powerful tariffs, which would stop the bloodshed, I believe, very quickly. But for those tariffs to be effective, European nations, all of you are gathered here right now, would have to join us in adopting the exact same measures. I mean, you're much closer to the city. We have an ocean in between. You're right there. And Europe has to step it up. They can't be doing what they're doing. They're buying oil and gas from Russia while they're fighting Russia. It's embarrassing to them. And it was very embarrassing to them when I found out about it, I can tell you that. They have to immediately cease all energy purchases from Russia. Otherwise, we're all wasting a lot of time. So I'm ready to discuss this. We're going to discuss it today with the European nations, all gathered here. I'm sure they're thrilled to hear me speak about it, but that's the way it is. I like to speak my mind and speak the truth. As we seek to reduce the threat of dangerous weapons today, I'm also calling on every nation to join us in ending the development of biological weapons once and for all. And biological is terrible, and nuclear is even beyond, and we include nuclear in that. We want to have a cessation of the development of nuclear weapons. We know, and I get to view it all the time. Sir, would you like to see? And I look at weapons that are so powerful that we just can't ever use them. If we ever use them, the world literally might come to an end. There would be no United Nations to be talking about. There would be no nothing. Just a few years ago, reckless experiments overseas gave us a devastating global pandemic. Yet despite that worldwide catastrophe, many countries are continuing extremely risky research into bioweapons and man-made pathogens. This is unbelievably dangerous. To prevent potential disasters, I'm announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce biological weapons convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully the UN can play a constructive role, and it will also be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever, but it also can be dangerous, but it can be put to tremendous use and tremendous good, and this would be an example of that. Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, It's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the number one political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border. Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the incompetent Biden administration. And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. But what took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them. In the United States, we reject the idea that mass numbers of people from foreign lands can be permitted to travel halfway around the world, trample our borders, violate our sovereignty, cause unmitigated crime, and deplete our social safety net. We have reasserted that America belongs to the American people, and I encourage all countries to take their own stand in defense of their citizens as well. You have to do that because I see it. I'm not mentioning names. I see it, and I can call every single one of them out. You're destroying your countries. They're being destroyed. Europe is in serious trouble. They've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody has ever, and nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable. And because they choose to be politically correct, they do just absolutely nothing about it. I have to say, I look at London where you have a terrible mayor, terrible mayor. And it's been so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law. But you're in a different country. You can't do that. Both the immigration and their suicidal energy ideas will be the death of Western Europe if something is not done immediately. This cannot be sustained. What makes the world so beautiful is that each country is unique. But to stay this way, every sovereign nation must have the right to control their own borders. You have the right to control your borders, as we do now, and to limit the sheer numbers of migrants entering their countries and paid for by the people of that nation that were there and that built that particular nation at the time. They put their blood, sweat, tears, money into that country, and now they're being ruined. Proud nations must be allowed to protect their communities and prevent their societies from being overwhelmed by people they have never seen before, with different customs, religions, with different everything. Where migrants have violated laws, lodged false asylum claims, or claimed refugee status for illegitimate reasons, they should in many cases be immediately sent home. And while we will always have a big heart for places and people that are struggling and truly compassionate, answers will be given. We have to solve the problem, and we have to solve it in their countries, not create new problems in our countries. And we are very helpful to a lot of countries that are just not able to send their people anymore. They used to send them to us in caravans of 25, 30,000 people each. These massive caravans of people pouring into our country, totally unchecked and unvetted. But not anymore. According to the Council of Europe in 2024, almost 50% of inmates in German prisons were foreign nationals or migrants. In Austria, the number was 53% of the people in prisons were from places that weren't from where they are now. In Greece, the number was 54%. And in Switzerland, beautiful Switzerland, 72% of people in prisons are from outside of Switzerland. When your prisons are filled with so-called asylum seekers who repaid kindness, and that's what they did. They repaid kindness with crime. It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. See, I can tell you. I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. In America, we've taken bold action to swiftly shut down uncontrolled migration. Once we started detaining and deporting everyone who crossed the border and removing illegal aliens from the United States, they simply stopped coming. They're not coming anymore. We're getting a lot of credit, but they're not coming anymore. This was a humanitarian act for all involved, because on the trips up, thousands of people a week were dying. Women were being raped. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Raped, horribly, beaten, raped. On the trip up, the journey up, it was a long walk. It was a long, arduous journey, indeed. It was also a historic victory against human trafficking throughout the region. What we did was a victory, and we saved so many lives of people that wouldn't make the journey. That journey was loaded up with death. Loaded up with death. Dead bodies all along the roads of jungles to get up. They go through jungles, they go through areas so hot.
His ear looks pretty good.
They were dying of suffocation, areas so hot that you couldn't breathe. Dead bodies all over. By them not coming, we're saving tremendous numbers of lives. People have done a fantastic job doing what they did, and the American public agrees with it. I mean, I was very proud to see this morning I have the highest poll numbers I've ever had. Part of it is because of what we've done on the border. I guess the other part is what we've done on the economy. Joe Biden's policies empowered murderous gangs, human smugglers, child traffickers, drug cartels, and prisoners from all over the world. The previous administration also lost nearly 300,000 children. Think of that. They lost more than 300,000 children, little children, who were trafficked into the United States on the Biden watch, many of whom have been raped, exploited, and abused, and sold. So, nobody talks about that. The fake news doesn't write about it. With many others, young children who are missing or dead. We found a lot of these children and we're sending them back. We've been sending them back to their parents. They said, nobody knows who they are. They said, where do you come from? And they'll give us a country and we'll find out and we'll figure it out and we'll bring them back to their homes. And the mother and father rush to the door and their tears in their eyes. They can't believe that they're seeing their son or daughter, their little son or daughter again. We've done almost 30,000 of them so far. Any system that results in the mass trafficking of children is inherently evil. Yet that is exactly what the globalist migration agenda has done, and it's what it's all about. In America, those days, as you know, are over. The Trump administration is working, and we are continuing to work to track down the villains that are causing this problem, and also, as I said, to get back the 30,000 we've already returned. Now I think we're going to have another. We're going to find a lot. You're not going to find all of them. 300, more than 300,000. They're lost or they're dead. They're lost or they're dead because of the animals that did this. To protect our citizens, I've also designated multiple savage drug cartels as far as you see this, and you see it happening right before your eyes. Let's put it this way, people don't like taking big loads of drugs in boats anymore. There aren't too many boats that are traveling on the seas by Venezuela. They tend not to want to travel very quickly.
Exactly. I'm waiting for him to talk about Gaza because Netanyahu says he's going to annex Gaza. I've been waiting for him to say something about it because Trump gave him the green light to annex Gaza. So Netanyahu said he's going to do that.
National gangs, probably the worst gangs anywhere in the world, MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. Tren de Aragua was from Venezuela, by the way. Such organizations torture, maim, mutilate, and murder with impunity. They're the enemies of all humanity. For this reason, we've recently begun using the supreme power of the United States military to destroy Venezuelan terrorists and trafficking networks led by Nicolas Maduro. Every terrorist thug smuggling poisonous drugs into the United States of America, please be warned that we will blow you out of existence. That's what we're doing. We have no choice. Can't let it happen. They're destroying. I believe we lost 300,000 people last year to drugs, 300,000. Fentanyl and other drugs. Each boat that we sink carries drugs that would kill more than 25,000 Americans. We will not let that happen. Energy is another area where the United States is now thriving like never before. We're getting rid of the falsely named renewables. By the way, they're a joke. They don't work. They're too expensive. They're not strong enough to fire up the plants that you need to make your country great. The wind doesn't blow. Those big windmills are so pathetic and so bad, so expensive to operate. And they have to be rebuilt all the time. They start to rust and rot. Most expensive energy ever conceived. And it's actually energy. You're supposed to make money with energy, not lose money. You lose money, the governments have to subsidize. You can't put them out without massive subsidies. And most of them are built in China, and I give China a lot of credit. They build them, but they very few wind farms. So why is it that they build them and they send them all over the world, but they barely use them? You know what they use? Coal. They use gas. They use almost anything, but they don't like wind. But they sure as hell like selling the windmills. Europe, on the other hand, is a long way to go, with many countries being on the brink of destruction because of the green energy agenda. And I give a lot of credit to Germany. Germany was being led down a very sick path, both on immigration, by the way, and on energy. They were going green and they were going bankrupt. And the new leadership came in and they went back to where they were. With fossil fuel and with nuclear, which is good. Restaurants, your wife can walk down the middle of the street with or without you. Nothing's going to happen. My people have done a fantastic job. And yes, I called in the National Guard, and the National Guard took care of business. And they weren't politically correct, but they took care of business. We got 1,700 career criminals out, brought them back to where they came from, the countries where they came from, or put them in jails. Washington, D.C. is now a totally safe city again, and I welcome you to come. In fact, we'll have dinner together at a local restaurant, and we'll be able to walk. We don't have to go by an armor-plated vehicle. We'll walk right over there from the White House. They've given up their powerful edge, a lot of the countries that we're talking about, in oil and gas, such as essentially closing the great North Sea oil. Oh, the North Sea, I know it so well. Aberdeen was the oil capital of Europe, and there's tremendous oil that hasn't been found in the North Sea. Tremendous oil. I was with the Prime Minister I respect and like a lot, and I said, you're sitting with the greatest asset. They essentially closed it by making it so highly taxed that no developer, no oil company can go there. They have tremendous oil left, and more importantly, they have tremendous oil that hasn't even been found yet. And what a tremendous asset for the United Kingdom. And I hope the Prime Minister is listening, because I told it to him 3 days in a row. That's all he heard. North Sea oil, North Sea, because I want to see them do well. I want to stop seeing them ruining that beautiful Scottish, English countryside with windmills and massive solar panels that go 7 miles by 7 miles, taking away farmland. But we're not letting this happen in America. In 1982, the executive director of the United Nations Environmental Program predicted that by the year 2000, climate change would cause a global catastrophe. He said that it will be irreversible as any nuclear holocaust would be. This is what they said at the United Nations. What happened? Here we are. Another UN official stated in 1989 that within a decade, entire nations could be wiped off the map by global warming. Not happening. You know, it used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said, global cooling will kill the world. We have to do something. Then they said global warming will kill the world, but then it started getting cooler. So now they could just call it climate change because that way they can't miss. It's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign, they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about everything. And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail. And if you don't stop people that you've never seen before, that you have nothing in common with, your country is going to fail. I'm the president of the United States, but I worry about Europe. I love Europe. I love the people of Europe. And I hate to see it being devastated by energy and immigration. This double-tailed monster destroys everything in its wake, and they cannot let that happen any longer. You're doing it because you want to be nice. You want to be politically correct, and you're destroying your heritage. They must take control strongly and immediately of the unmitigated immigration disaster and the fake energy catastrophe before it's too late. The carbon footprint is a hoax made up by people with evil intentions, and they're heading down a path of total destruction. You know, the carbon footprint was a big, big thing a few years ago. I remember hearing about the carbon footprint, and then President Obama would get into Air Force One, a massive Boeing 747, and not a new one, an old one with old engines that spew everything into the atmosphere. He'd talk about the carbon footprint, we must do something. Then he'd get in and he'd fly from Washington to Hawaii to play a round of golf. And then he'd get back onto that big, beautiful plane and he'd fly back and he'd talk about, again, global warming and the carbon footprint. It's a con job. At extreme cost and expense, Europe reduced its own carbon footprint by 37%. Think of that. Congratulations, Europe. Great job. It cost yourself a lot of jobs, a lot of factories closed, but you reduced the carbon footprint by 37%. However, for all of that sacrifice and much more, it's been totally wiped out and then some by a global increase of 54%. Much of it coming from China and other countries that are thriving around China, which now produces more CO2 than all the other developed nations in the world. So all of these countries are working so hard on the carbon footprint, which is nonsense, by the way. It's nonsense. You know, it's interesting. In the United States, we have still radicalized environmentalists. and they want the factories to stop. Everything should stop. No more cows. We don't want cows anymore. I guess they want to kill all the cows. They want to do things that are just unbelievable, and you have it too. But you know, we have a border, strong, and we have a shape, and that shape doesn't just go straight up. That shape is amorphous when it comes to the atmosphere. And if we had the most clean air, and I think we do, we have very clean air. We have the cleanest air we've had in many, many years. But the problem is that other countries, like China, which has air that's a little bit rough, it blows. And no matter what you're doing down here, the air up here tends to get very dirty because it comes in from other countries where their air isn't so clean. And the environmentalists refuse to acknowledge that. Same thing with garbage. In Asia, they dump much of their garbage right into the ocean. And over about a 1 week and 2 week journey, it flows right past Los Angeles. You've seen it. Massive amounts of garbage, almost too much to do anything about. Flowing past Los Angeles, past San Francisco, and then somebody will get in trouble because he dropped a cigarette on the beach. The whole thing is crazy. The primary effect of these brutal green energy policies has not been to help the environment, but to redistribute manufacturing and industrial activity from developed countries that follow the insane rules that have.
I'm ready to take a nap. How about all you guys? Getting into my nap time.
Making a fortune. They're making a fortune. European electricity bills are now 4 to 5 times more expensive than those in China, and 2 to 3 times higher than the United States. And our bills are coming way down. You probably see that our gasoline prices are way down. You know, we have an expression, drill, baby, drill, and that's what we're doing. We're going to be much lower a year from now. But they've come way down over the last year. As a result, every air conditioner is like very uncommon to see one in some of these countries because the electric cost is so high. So while the U.S. has approximately 1,300 heat-related deaths annually, it's a lot. Europe loses more than 175,000 people to heat deaths each year because the costs are so expensive you can't turn on an air conditioner. What is that all about? That's not Europe. That's not the Europe that I love and know. All in the name of pretending to stop the global warming hoax. The entire globalist concept of asking successful industrialized nations to inflict pain on themselves and radically disrupt their entire societies must be rejected completely and totally, and it must be immediate. That's why in America I withdrew from the fake Paris Climate Accord, where, by the way, America was paying so much more than every country. Others weren't paying. China didn't have to pay until 2030. Russia was given an old standard that was easy to meet, 1990 standard. But for the United States, we're supposed to pay like $1 trillion. And I said, this is another scam. The fact is, the United States has been taken advantage of by the world for many, many years, but not any longer, as you probably noticed. I unleashed massive energy production and signed historic executive orders to hunt for oil. But we don't have to do much hunting because we have the most oil of any nation anywhere, oil and gas in the world. And if you add coal, we have the most of any nation in the world. Clean, I call it clean, beautiful coal. You can do things today with coal that you couldn't have done 10 years ago, 15 years. So I have a little standing order in the White House. Never use the word coal, only use the words clean, beautiful coal. Sounds much better, doesn't it? But we stand ready to provide any country with abundant, affordable energy supplies if you need them, when most of you do. We're proudly exporting energy all over the world. We're now the largest exporter. In the United States, we want trade and robust commerce with all nations, everybody. We want to help nations. We're going to help nations. But it must also be fair and reciprocal. The challenge with trade is much the same with climate. The countries that follow the rules, all their factories have been plundered.
Amen, Andrea.
It's
exactly, Kathy. I'm ready. Hey, Betty. Good seeing you, Betty. We're on here so long. Betty's here. Good seeing
That's
you,
why the
buddy.
United States is now
Great
applying
seeing you.
tariffs to
Amber,
other
good seeing you.
countries, and much as these
I'm ready
tariffs
to hear
were
about
for many
the
years applied to
Gaza.
us,
That's what I'm here
uncontrollably
for.
applied to us. We've used tariffs.
I didn't know I'd have to listen through all this. I thought they only had an hour to speak.
Including my first term, where hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs were taken in. And by the way, we had the lowest inflation, and now we have very low inflation. And the only thing different is that we have hundreds of billions of dollars.
Marcia,
flowing
good
into
seeing
our
you.
country. But this is how we will ensure that the system works for everyone and is sustainable into the future.
I know he's a treacherous dealer. I didn't know he was a treacherous.
Including against nations that have taken advantage of
He puts me to sleep.
U.S. administrations for decades, including
Whatever you'd call it.
the most
Babbling fool.
corrupt,
Put you to sleep.
incompetent administration in history, the sleepy Joe Biden administration. Brazil now faces
Yeah, it is raining
tariffs
here.
in response to its unprecedented efforts to interfere in the rights and freedoms of our American citizens and others. With censorship, repression, weaponization, judicial corruption, and targeting of political critics in the United States. I have a little problem saying this because I must tell you.
Thanks to all my mods. Thanks to Ed. You do a great job,
I
Ed.
saw him, and I saw him, he saw me, and we embraced. And then I'm saying, can you believe I'm going to be saying this in just 2 minutes? But we actually agreed that we would meet next week. We didn't have much time to talk, like about 20 seconds. They were in retrospect, I'm glad I waited because this thing didn't work out too well. But we did talk. We had a good talk.
Treacherous delayer. There you go. That's a good one.
But he seemed like a very nice man, actually. He liked me, I liked him. But if you, and I only do business with people I like. When I don't like them, I don't like them. But we had, at least for about 39 seconds, we had excellent chemistry. It's a good sign. But also in the past, Brazil, can you believe this, unfairly tariffed our nation, but now because of our tariffs, we are hitting them back. We're hitting them back very hard. As president, I will always defend our national sovereignty and the rights of American citizens. So I'm very sorry to say this. Brazil is doing poorly and will continue to do poorly. They can only do well when they're working with us. Without us, they will fail, just as others have failed. It's true. Next year, the United States will celebrate the 250th anniversary of our glorious independence, a testament to enduring power and American freedom and spirit. We will also be proudly hosting the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and shortly thereafter, the 2028 Olympics, which is going to be very exciting. I hope you all come. I hope that countless people from all over the globe will take part of these will be great celebrations of liberty and human achievement, and that together we all can rejoice in the miracles of history that began in July 4th, 1776, when we founded the light to all nations. It's something really that an amazing thing came out of that date. It's called the United States of America. In honor of this momentous anniversary, I hope that all countries who find inspiration in our example will join us in renewing our commitment to values, and those values really that we hold so dear together. Let us defend free speech and free expression. Let us protect religious liberty, including for the most persecuted religion on the planet today. It's called Christianity. And let us safeguard our sovereignty and cherish qualities that have made each of our nations so special, incredible, and extraordinary. In closing, I just want to repeat that immigration and the high cost of so-called green renewable energy is destroying a large part of the free world and a large part of our planet. Countries that cherish freedom are fading fast because of their policies on these two subjects. You need strong borders and traditional energy sources if you're going to be great again. Whether you have come from north or south, east or west, near or far, every leader in this beautiful hall today represents a rich culture, a noble history, and a proud heritage that makes each nation majestic and unique, unlike anything else in human history or any other place on the face of the earth. From London to Lima, from Rome to Athens, from Paris to Seoul, from Cairo to Tokyo and Amsterdam to right here in New York City, we stand on the shoulders of the leaders and legends, generals and giants, heroes and titans who won and built our beloved nations, all of our nations, with their own courage, strength, spirit, and skill. Our ancestors climbed mountains, conquered oceans, crossed deserts, and trekked over wide open plains. They charged into thunderous battles, plunged into grave dangers, and they were soldiers and farmers and workers and warriors and explorers and patriots. They built towns into cities, tribes into kingdoms, ideas into industries, and small islands into mighty empires. You're a part of all of that. They were champions for their people who never gave up and who never, ever gave in. Their values defined our national identities. Their visions forged our magnificent destiny. Everybody in this room is a part of it in your own way. Each of us inherits the deeds and the myths, the triumphs, the legacies of our own heroes and founders who so bravely showed us the way. Our ancestors gave everything for homelands that they defended with pride, with sweat, with blood, with life, and with death. Now the righteous task of protecting the nations that they built belongs to each and every one of us. So together, let us uphold our sacred duty to our people and to our citizens. Let us protect their borders, ensure their safety, preserve their cultures, treasure traditions, and fight for their precious dreams and their cherished freedoms. And in friendship, really a beautiful vision, let us all work together to build a bright, beautiful planet, a planet that we all share, a planet of peace in a world that is richer, better, and more beautiful than ever before.
Exactly, DJ.
It will happen. It will happen, and I hope it can happen and start right now, right at this moment. We'll turn it around. We're going to make our countries better, safer, more beautiful. We're going to take care of our people. Thank you very much. It's been an honor. God bless the nations of the world. Thank you very much. Bye.
Yeah, buddy, you're right.
On behalf of the Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the United States.
Well, he didn't say nothing. I expected him to say something. But here's Netanyahu's response. Netanyahu has three options to block two-state solution. As I said before, Trump could veto at any time. We'll see what happens today. I'm assuming he will veto it, as he always has said. We'll see what happens. Sorry for boring everybody for over an hour boring everybody. I'm ready to take a nap. I don't know about you guys. We'll see what happens. Thanks to my mods, greatly appreciated. Thanks to Ed and everybody else. Great seeing everybody. So I'm ready for a nap. He put me to sleep. I cannot lie. I was sick of hearing his garbage. I was hoping that he would say something, but we'll see what happens. All we know is we know what's going to happen. We'll just keep looking up, keep prayed up. So thank you, everybody. Thanks to my mods. Thanks, everybody. It's like I said, I'm going to take a nap. Good seeing everybody. We'll see what happens. We'll see. Something could happen to him. As most people know, he was very boastful. Nebuchadnezzar. Exactly, Nebuchadnezzar. Boastful, proudful Nebuchadnezzar. So we'll see what happens. Good seeing everybody. Keep looking up, keep prayed up, and sorry about it. I wish I would have just went praise and worship. Vivian, I know I would. I wish I should have just went praise and worship. Good seeing you, Carol. I do want to say one thing before I leave. I have never talked. I had many people sending me videos about Joshua, the guy Joshua. He said he's been talking to Jesus for 2 or 3 months. If it doesn't happen today, he's a fraud. And the reason why I never talked about him, because I thought he was a fraud. I agree with Steve Fletcher. Steve Fletcher said that he was a fraud. I agreed the same thing. If somebody, Jesus is not a liar. And if he says he talks to Jesus and Jesus told him, all these people promoting Joshua, if it doesn't happen today, he's a fraud. So I just want to say that Jesus is not a liar. So good seeing everybody. God bless. Hope everybody's doing well. Keep looking up, keep prayed up.